My siblings sabotaged my career opportunities for years. After becoming a respected lawyer, I sued them for past emotional damages. The settlement was more than they ever imagined. Our family's dysfunction began long before I was born, rooted in generational patterns of competitive toxicity that my siblings Mark and Jessica would later weaponize against me with surgical precision. My parents, Dr. Richard and Elizabeth Hartley, were classic overachievers who inadvertently created a pressure cooker of familial expectations that would define our household dynamics. My father, a renowned cardiovascular surgeon, and my mother, a high-powered corporate attorney, viewed success as the ultimate family currency. They didn't just want their children to succeed, they demanded excellence as a form of validation. This relentless pursuit of perfection created an environment where sibling rivalry wasn't just encouraged, it was practically a competitive sport. Mark, 7 years my senior, was the family's first golden child. A charismatic business graduate who quickly climbed the corporate ladder in talent acquisition, he embodied everything my parents considered successful. Jessica, 5 years older than me, was equally celebrated, a marketing prodigy who seemed to effortlessly network and manipulate professional landscapes. I was different. Introspective, analytically minded, and more interested in understanding systems than performing success. Where Mark and Jessica were loud and externally impressive, I was quiet and deeply observant. This fundamental difference made me a threat they couldn't tolerate. My earliest memories of their systematic undermining date back to middle school. I remember a science fair where I had developed an intricate project about environmental microbiology. The night before the presentation, my project mysteriously disappeared. When it resurfaced, critical components were missing, rendering my months of work essentially useless. At the time, I couldn't prove Mark or Jessica's involvement. But looking back, the pattern was unmistakable. They would create scenarios that made my achievements seem impossible, then watch with barely concealed satisfaction as I struggled. During high school, their tactics became more sophisticated. Jessica, leveraging her growing marketing expertise, understood precisely how to weaponize social dynamics. She'd spread subtle rumors about my mental stability, suggesting to teachers and potential mentors that I was emotionally fragile or struggling to adapt. Mark used his recruiting background to create professional roadblocks. When I began applying for summer internships and academic programs, he would make discreet phone calls, suggesting that while I was intelligent, I might not be the right fit for various opportunities. His professional network became an invisible barrier, blocking my progress at every turn. The most insidious aspect of their campaign was its psychological sophistication. They didn't just want to prevent my success, they wanted to make me internalize a sense of inadequacy. Every blocked opportunity was accompanied by performative sympathy, false consolations that subtly reinforced my perceived limitations. My turning point came during my undergraduate years at Stanford. I was studying pre-law with a concentration in complex litigation, developing the exact skill set that would eventually become my most powerful weapon against them. The irony was delicious, they were creating the very instrument of their eventual destruction. What they didn't understand was that their constant interference was actually forging my resilience. Each blocked opportunity became a lesson in strategic thinking. I was learning to document, analyze, and ultimately deconstruct systematic oppression, skills that would become my professional arsenal. My law school application process became a covert operation. Knowing their historical interference, I created multiple application channels, used recommendation letters from contacts they couldn't access, and developed a network completely independent of their influence. When I was accepted to a top-tier law school with a substantial scholarship, their shocked expressions were worth more than words could describe. Throughout law school, I specialized in a unique intersection of psychological manipulation, professional ethics, and litigation strategies. My thesis explored systematic familial and professional sabotage, drawing from both academic research and my deeply personal experience. What began as a personal trauma became an academic and professional expertise. The lawsuit, when it finally came, was a masterpiece of legal strategy. I didn't just want financial compensation, I wanted a comprehensive exposure of their calculated emotional abuse. My legal approach was multifaceted, combining direct evidence of professional interference with a nuanced psychological profile of sustained familial manipulation. My evidence was overwhelming. Email threads, recorded conversations, professional communication logs, a meticulously constructed timeline of their interference. Each piece of evidence was like another nail in their professional coffins, systematically dismantling the respectable personas they had constructed. The settlement negotiations were a symphony of legal precision. Their lawyers quickly realized that fighting would expose even more damaging information. The financial compensation was substantial, but the true victory was the public acknowledgement of their calculated emotional abuse. Our parents' reaction was complex. Years of believing they had raised perfect, successful children were suddenly confronted with incontrovertible evidence of deep-seated psychological manipulation. Family gatherings became silent, tense affairs where unspoken accusations hung in the air. Today, I'm not just a successful lawyer, I'm a recognized expert in workplace psychological dynamics. My personal journey has become a professional mission. I now represent individuals who have experienced systematic professional and familial sabotage, turning my own trauma into a powerful vehicle for justice. Mark and Jessica's professional networks have permanently shifted. Their reputations, once polished and impressive, now carry an invisible asterisk of doubt. Job opportunities have become more challenging, professional connections more guarded. They're constantly looking over their shoulders, knowing that their carefully constructed personas can be dismantled at any moment. The story isn't just about revenge. It's about transformation. It's about understanding that familial trauma doesn't define you, it refines you. My siblings tried to limit my potential, but instead, they created the very mechanism of their own professional and personal deconstruction. 5 years later, a comprehensive reflection on family, justice, and personal transformation. When I last shared my story, it felt like the conclusion of an epic legal and personal battle. But life, as always, is far more complex than a single narrative arc. The aftermath of the lawsuit against my siblings has been a profound journey of healing, understanding, and unexpected personal growth. The immediate aftermath was a maelstrom of emotions and professional recalibration. My lawsuit wasn't just a legal action, it was a seismic event that fundamentally reshuffled our family's entire relational ecosystem. The financial settlement, while substantial, was almost secondary to the profound psychological vindication I experienced. Mark's professional trajectory took the most immediate hit. His once thriving career in corporate recruiting became a cautionary tale within professional networks. Companies that once courted him now viewed him with a mixture of suspicion and professional wariness. His carefully constructed persona of a smooth, connected professional was irreparably fractured. Jessica's fall was more nuanced but equally devastating. Her marketing career, which had always relied on networking and personal reputation, became significantly more challenging. The professional whisper network, that invisible infrastructure of reputation and trust, now carried an undercurrent of doubt about her character. Our parents' relationship with me underwent a complete metamorphosis. Dr. Richard and Elizabeth Hartley, who had once been unknowing enablers of my siblings' manipulation, were forced to confront uncomfortable truths about their family dynamics. Their initial shock gave way to a painful process of introspection and, ultimately, a more authentic connection with me. My professional life, conversely, began to flourish in ways I could never have anticipated. My specialized expertise in psychological manipulation and professional ethics became increasingly sought after. I wasn't just a lawyer, I became a recognized expert in understanding and addressing systemic psychological abuse in professional and familial contexts. I developed a groundbreaking practice that combined legal strategy with deep psychological analysis. My firm began representing individuals who had experienced similar systemic sabotage, professionals who had been strategically undermined by family members, colleagues, or institutional structures. The most unexpected outcome was the healing that came from transforming my personal trauma into a professional mission. Each case I took became more than just legal representation. It was an opportunity to help individuals reclaim their narratives, to provide a structured pathway for understanding and addressing psychological manipulation. My research expanded beyond individual cases. I began collaborating with psychologists, organizational behavior experts, and legal scholars to develop comprehensive frameworks for understanding and addressing systemic psychological abuse. Academic journals started publishing my work, and I began receiving invitations to speak at conferences about family dynamics, professional ethics, and psychological resilience. The relationship with my siblings remained permanently altered. We weren't estranged in the traditional sense, there were occasional family gatherings, polite interactions at holiday events. But the fundamental trust had been irrevocably damaged. Our interactions were now carefully choreographed performances of civility, with underlying currents of historical tension. Interestingly, the lawsuit had a somewhat unexpected effect on Mark and Jessica. The public exposure and professional consequences forced them into a period of intense self-reflection. While they never directly apologized, there were subtle indications of changed behavior, a newfound respect, perhaps, or a recognition of the depth of their previous actions. My parents, in their own journey of understanding, began supporting my work in ways that felt like a form of collective healing. They funded scholarships for students experiencing familial psychological barriers, transforming their initial enablement of toxic dynamics into a mechanism for positive change. The financial settlement, beyond its immediate impact, became a tool for broader social good. I established a foundation dedicated to supporting individuals navigating complex familial and professional psychological challenges. The foundation provides legal support, psychological counseling, and educational resources for those experiencing systemic manipulation. Reflection became my most powerful tool. I realized that the lawsuit was never truly about revenge. It was about breaking cycles of psychological manipulation, about creating visibility for experiences that are often invisible, about transforming personal pain into a mechanism for broader social understanding. My professional expertise expanded into writing. I published a critically acclaimed book exploring the intricate dynamics of familial psychological abuse, drawing from both personal experience and extensive research. The book became a landmark text in understanding subtle forms of psychological manipulation within family systems. Today, I look back at the journey not with bitterness, but with a profound sense of gratitude. The very mechanisms my siblings used to attempt to suppress my potential became the foundation of my most meaningful work. Every blocked opportunity was a redirected pathway, every psychological barrier a potential for deeper understanding. To anyone reading this who might be experiencing similar dynamics, your story is valid. Your experiences matter. The journey of healing is not linear, and transformation comes in unexpected ways. Document your experiences, seek professional support, and understand that your potential is not defined by those who seek to limit you. The lawsuit was never just about me. It was about creating a broader conversation about psychological manipulation, about bringing hidden dynamics into the light, about transforming personal trauma into a mechanism for collective healing and understanding. In the end, justice isn't about winning or losing. It's about creating space for authentic growth, for understanding, and for the fundamental human right to define one's own narrative.